Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video, the final video in the restoration series of the Philips B7X14A. This one has had its challenges, or presented its challenges. As you can see, they've been overcome. So there's a bit of a smile on my face for a change. But I'll show you how we got here. And after the trials and tribulations here, it's really a great feeling to get it to this point. At the end of the video, I'll be giving a demo. There is Bluetooth. I put Bluetooth in here, so if you're interested in that, stick around. If you're interested in the whole thing, stick around. Hope you enjoy the video. Well, this problem has been staring me in the face for some time now. This is the cabinet. Top of the cabinet is rather damaged, but it seems that the damage is all on this sort of acrylic or this lacquer finish. And I started trying to remove this lacquer. I started in the bottom right-hand corner. I tried all sorts of paint strippers. I tried just sanding it. It just won't come out. And then I remembered that stealing is part of this hobby. And the reason I say this is I was informed a little while ago by the thief himself that someone had stolen some ideas of mine. Now, that idea was probably something I stole from somebody else, so I don't consider it a real theft. But Dave Tipton, I'm stealing an idea of yours. When Dave did the other Philips, the B4X14A, he had the same problem. He found that his was actually covered in this really tough lacquer. And I don't believe it's a lacquer. It's actually sort of, I think it's fiberglass. He mentioned it was fiberglass. And I was wondering how to take this off. And then I remembered what he did, and that is to use a heat gun. So I got out my heat gun, and again I started in the less conspicuous parts, which was the bottom. And I've done all that so far, and I've already sanded it lightly with 240 grit sandpaper. And I've got to tell you, it's coming off beautifully. Not that the floor likes it. It makes a hell of a mess. I'm doing it in my workshop. I haven't done the top yet, but I'll be doing it next. And Dave used a like a chisel, a scraper, if that's what you'll call it, something like this. With a heat gun, you apply heat and you start scraping away, and it seems to work. So I wasn't sure that it was going to work, but it has. Look at it. All that's been removed, and that was admittedly only on the edges, but the main section is this one over here. And of course, I'm going to do it properly. I'm going to take all the lacquer off, or rather the fiberglass coating off. I'm going to then sand it with probably 240 grit, maybe even finer grit than that. Then I'm going to tint it. I'm not sure what tint I'm going to use. I'm going to follow basically his example, and just to show that I'm a very grateful thief, I'm going to link the video where he does this above. Just look upstairs. You'll see that link to his video where he does the restoration of the other Philips cabinet, and he does a fantastic job. I don't expect mine will come out as well, but I'll do my best. Okay, I've got some work to do, and afterwards some vacuuming to do, otherwise my wife will kill me. Let me get on with it. What a bloody mess. Look at all that. But I got it done. Not as cleanly as Dave Tipton. I guess I didn't steal the whole idea. And there are sort of scratches. It's not quite scratches, it's just where the spatula has scraped the wood somewhat, so quite a bit of sanding is required. But now I'd better clean this up before my wife gets home. Yeah, the cat agrees. Okay, I'm happy. This is a job that I've been dreading, and it's done, or part of it anyway. Let me carry on. Well, I finally completed that. That is not a job that I enjoy, not at all. What happened is I tinted it, it all worked fine. I then tried to start the lacquering process with multiple layers of spray. That didn't work. It was too thin, probably the spray that I was using. So I ended up having to paint it on with lacquer with varnish. And it's sort of a thicker layer. Then I had to sand it down. And then I had to, do it again. I did it 4 times. And in my opinion, It's still not absolutely smooth. I mean, you can see from the reflections there, it is not as good as Dave's. So I'm a pretty bad thief. I know how to steal the technique, but not the result. Dave, I need you in Madeira, urgently. This is the bottom end, that bottom part over there. And now I'm going to get the hardware, make sure that's all cleaned up, put it in. I've already cleaned up the speakers and those side grills. Those were just, they were dirty. There were no marks, no broken parts on it at all. So it should come out pretty well. Let me put that back and see what it looks like. While all the final touches are being done on the actual cabinet, I've mounted all the hardware, parts there that I had to glue. While that is drying, I decided to focus on something else, and that is this guy. Now, you probably know by now that I'm a fan of Bluetooth modules on these radios. I know some people say it's sacrilegious. I follow my own rules. But this is the board that I built, and I'll link above the project that I did this on a previous video where I designed this board. And the reason for this rather different board is that it's got a preamplification stage on there. Now, I don't know if you know, but when you connect a Bluetooth receiver, you can do it very simply. You just connect the power to the, the 6.3 volt heater supply. In this case, I've connected it to the lamp there. But I went one step further and I put a supply on here and a preamp module so that we can raise the Bluetooth signals level slightly just to match what the pickup input would be expecting if it was a cartridge. Otherwise, when you put Bluetooth, let's say you're playing FM and you've got it at a moderate volume, you put Bluetooth and it goes right down. So then you have to put the volume up, and then when you switch to FM again, it blasts the house down. So I've got this preamp module. There are two resistors here that control the gain. Again, if you look at that video linked previously, you'll see the whole detail on how this board was built and designed and all that sort of thing. But I can adjust the gain on here. And the two resistors I've got here, I think is giving me a gain of about 5, which is perfectly fine for this. So I've got that connected to the pickup input, put the volume up, and I've got my iPad sending some royalty-free music. And now I've just lost the Bluetooth there. And I can control everything from here as well, or from on the volume control itself on the radio. And the sound is very, very good. I've got to tell you, it's very, very good. Now, a few things I've got to mention. First of all, occasionally, as I was testing this thing was sort of dropping out, and I was wondering why. And then I realized that I've got this thing on dim bulb, so the voltage level is low. This thing needs a certain voltage. It needs 6.3 volts or 6 point something volts to actually provide the voltage that the Bluetooth module needs. If it's on the limit, on the cusp, it sometimes drops out, but no big deal, because when I run this radio on direct, it doesn't do that. But there's one more thing that I want to do here, because as you can see, this thing is for all intents and purposes completely connected. I've got the audio input going into there, into the DIN connector, the two, the left and right connector. Remember, this thing accepts stereo input from the outside, and the Bluetooth module is a stereo module, okay? I've also got the power connected to this lamp, which is the 6.3 volt heater voltage. So everything should be good, and it's working perfectly well, right? So why would I want to mess with this any further? Well, let me tell you. After all, this is the digital device. And when this thing is on, it produces noise. Now, one of the reasons this board was done, it's got a DC to DC isolator here, is to get rid of any buzz that these modules tend to create. With this system, I get absolutely no buzz. However, because this thing will be in the radio, and we've got things like the FM section standing here in the open, if I connect FM, it'll still be able to receive some of the buzz from that module. And that means that sometimes when you've got the FM connected, you will hear a little bit of buzz that's being picked up by the FM front end. And this is especially bad or true when you've got an internal dipole antenna on these other radios. That really does pick up a lot of noise. So the best thing to do is to create a way of disconnecting this module when you're not playing it. In other words, if you haven't selected pickup. So we've got a switch here for pickup, and that's what we want when we want Bluetooth. We select pickup, TA, and that should activate the Bluetooth. So I decided to look at the back of the TA switch, and I've got a very nice surprise. This second one here is the pickup switch, this one. And I look down at the bottom, and I can actually see 3 connectors there, 3 sections of the switch that are not used. So I decided to take a closer look and test whether those things are working. And I found that that is in fact a single pole double throw switch. In other words, it's a similar type of switch as the other switches that are on that module. Now watch this. I've got that connected to the end one and the middle one, which seem to be normally open because you don't hear the beep, right? Now watch this. Ta-da! Off, on. Okay, let's get rid of that noise. So that means that I can use that switch to switch on my module. And what I'm going to do is actually use that switch to connect the ground of the supply to my module. So you remember I mentioned that the module gets its supply from the 6.3 volt heater line. Now that's the same supply that comes to this dial lamp, and I've got the 6.3 volt connected, and I've disconnected the ground from there. Now the ground from the heater supply in this case is the chassis. So if I take this wire to one pin of that switch that I've just tested, and I connect the other one to ground anywhere on the chassis, and there are a lot of ground points over there, this means that the supply, the 6.3 volt supply, will be made when I switch the TA on. And that means that when I'm on radio, any of the other bands, FM or AM, this supply will not be complete, and my Bluetooth module will be completely off. So that solves the problem. That's what I'm going to do now, and then I think I'm ready to put this thing in the cabinet, provided everything is dry there. Let me get going. Okay, here we go. One more little step. You'll notice the magic eye is on. It was not. It was dead. This is a new one. So there's another casualty in the tube lineup of this radio. The EM80 was kaput. Fortunately, I had a new one and put that in, so now it's working. Now, what I'm going to show you is the actual Bluetooth module. There's no buzz whatsoever on FM at the moment. Now, if you look at the module, when I push TA for pickup, ta-da, it starts looking for the Bluetooth receiver to pair with, and that'll work normally like it did just now. It's already paired. So we've got our Bluetooth module coming on only when we click that on. When I select long wave, for example, it goes off. And of course, when I connect the pickup again, it'll take a few seconds, but it'll have to reconnect, and that'll prevent you from getting any noise on the radio reception because the module is effectively off. And that switch was a godsend. Otherwise, I've done it before where I've put a micro switch that gets activated when you push that button, sort of a mechanical micro switch on the outside. It's a bit messy. This is beautiful. This is so clean, no problems whatsoever. Okay, time for this thing to go back into the cabinet, and we'll do a final test. Ta-da! Here she is, finally done, in the cabinet. It's been, it was quite tough to actually get it in here. This cabinet is a little bit funny about that. Things are pretty tight in there. Soldering the speaker wires was a little bit difficult. I obviously took off those switches that were in there. This is now connected to the speakers. And yeah, it's looking really good, but I know that there are faults in the cabinet. I just know, and because I know, it bugs me. But anyway, one day Dave Tipton might visit me in Madeira, and I'll get him to work, and this will be perfect. The radio itself, the system itself, is working very, very well. I'll start off with the pickup. I've got the pickup on. I've got my iPad connected to the Bluetooth. Let's try something. By the way, the distortion is the guitar, not the speakers. stereo selected. I wonder what the reverb sounds like on this. Spacey. Weird. That sounds pretty good. Let's try something else. This thing gets loud. It's about a quarter of the way there, volume-wise. Now, while I was testing it, I just had this playing here for a while, and I was streaming music from Spotify from my iPhone. Obviously, I can't do that because of copyright reasons, but this thing sounds good. This sounds really, really good. And I was doing it through the Bluetooth. I had it on hi-fi here. I had it on stereo. And it really is a viable music system if you want to use it to stream music from your Bluetooth-enabled device. But this is a radio. What does the radio sound like? Let's try FM. It's picking up a lot of stations from the Canary Islands, which means that the band is busier than usual. A lot of these are from the Canary Islands. That's Canary Islands. I have no idea where that's from, but it's coming through loud and clear.
Presidente, e depois dão 27% à NUPS, a nova Aliança Popular Ecologista e
Puro materialismo. De hecho, mucho de la noche.
Okay, FM is incredibly sensitive, more so than usual. I'm picking up more stations from the Canary Islands here than I am from local, which is unusual, very unusual. So FM is where I want it to be. I'm going to change the antenna at the back to the mini whip and we'll see what we get on the other bands. So mini whip antenna is in. Let's try shortwave. It's mid-afternoon, so it's not a good time, but we see if we can pick up anything anyway.
So, now that that's out of the way, why don't we get started with the trivia, yeah?
Yep, that's
all right, let's do it. Fact number 1, and this is according to China Daily, which is a
Chinese newspaper, but also printed internationally.
Well, thank you for that.
That's pretty clear. So, that's working well. Medium wave.
E o Serviço Continental Português, a informação divulgada pelo Instituto Português do Mar e da Atmosfera refere que o abalo ocorreu este sábado às 16 horas.
Canary Islands again. The first one was the local station.
Pues lo que venimos contando en COPE es efectivamente que el resto era cerrar la para seguramente eso tiene que ver con la situación de...
The usual, pretty good. That's long wave. There's a vague trace of Radio 4, BBC Radio 4 there, but it's very low. So we have got it where we want it. Our radio's complete and it's working very well on all the bands. I'm actually quite happy that this one is done. This one was a little bit taxing. The Magic Eye had to be replaced as well. A few other tubes. This is rather unusual. I don't normally have to replace so many tubes. This one had both of the output tubes, the L84s, the 12AX7 or the ECC83, the EZ81 rectifier, the, what was it, the ECC85, the FM tube, the Magic Eye. So this radio obviously did a lot of work in its life, and yeah, I'm glad I've got it back to working condition, to good condition. As I said, with a few slight caveats regarding the cabinet, which I shouldn't be so disappointed, but I am a little. I don't like it when it doesn't come out perfectly, and it didn't come out perfectly, so yeah, whatever. So for now, I'm going to sign off on this entire project, start thinking about the next one. The next one might be interesting, actually, as well, but I'll let you wait a little while before I can confirm it. So once again, I want to thank you for your company in this video and for the entire series, if you've been following it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've gained something from it. And I look forward to seeing you back again for the next project. Thanks for watching. Bye for now and stay safe.